As the wind erodes and the water corrodes, altering everything we think we know, but we don't. It's all temporary, and it used to, but now the thought doesn't scare me or keep my feet from following one after another until I slumber. Then my mind, not my feet, wander and dream of people and places I'll never see again. I've mended as much mental anguish as I can, and now I try to use this language to take these thoughts from my head to my pen. Cause though I don't speak of my dead friends or the circumstances, often the blow never softens or yields. I'm in a desolate field, lonesome stargazing, night blazing, chasing traces of remembrance and reverence of relevant friends and acquaintances, and faceless and nameless names and faces. And while my mind is racing through these photo albums and quotations, all these people and places far from me, for only land and stars I see when I'm outside of the mile-high city, which is not my city, for I was born 1,000 miles northeast of there in the land of beer and lakes and pistol fire on MLK's birthday, where there is no minorities and segregation's mandatory. But that's a whole nother story altogether, and no matter the weather or hardships that any place brings, I'll still laugh when people shiver and say it's freezing, or say, hey, no, wait, I already had 18 mixed drinks, but I guess it's a Midwest thing, and I'm a mess from a dirty city and brought most of this filth I've gathered with me.
Top of the morning to you. That's right. Joining you live on a Tuesday morning this week, because you know what? Schedules go that way sometimes, and we got to do things a little bit differenter every week, every day, to see if we get different results. Speaking of, let's talk about what we can do to combat blame, excuse, and denial that you find yourself in every single day. Coming up after the verse.
My work labors on as lovers sleep in each other's arms, remaining calm and collect. I begin my self-reflection process of redemption. Honestly, I don't know where this road leads, or if I'm even going. Could be rowing upstream, or worse, chasing my dreams to the peak, to finally be somebody doing something with what I have, rather than saying again and again that I can't and I won't anymore from this day forward. Cause Lord knows the past is set in stone, the present is yours to mold and to use for future uses. I know I'm a nuisance, I'm told, except neither young nor old, nor giant nor gnome. I don't sleep on these streets usually, though I've made thrones of my own. I don't sit well with idle hands, though don't know what to do when I'm home all alone. I'm a menace thrown from society, and as it lies to me, I'll smile silently as others do as they please. I am watching and listening, and I'm grinning all the while. 'Cause sometimes all you can really do is smile. So as the work labors on, I'll keep on singing my songs, and this day's never done. We just keep on spinning around that sun. And well, through all these miles and trials, all I've learned to do is smile. Is to smile.
Here we go. Tuesday morning live edition of Experience Andy Weins Live, coming to you this morning to shake things up, to be a little differenter. And when we do things differenter, there's a chance we get a different result. So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we talk about how do we combat blame, excuse, and denial, and build in the best actions and activities which will lead to the best habits and ultimately reap the destiny of the life that you ultimately want. So, as we always start off today, we're going to start off with a moment of gratitude. Today, I am grateful for the opportunity I had last night. I went down to Chicago with my brother Tyler, my brother Isaac, and my father. And I'm 40 years old, and so we're all grown adults, and it's the first time that we can ever recall the four of us being in a car together, driving somewhere, only the four of us, and then going to a show. And so we saw Bob Weir the Wolf Brothers, which is a spinoff from the Grateful Dead, and that is the extent of what I know. And they played with the Philharmonic down there in Chicago. My brother, he's a Deadhead. He follows the Dead. I saw Grateful Dead 2 years ago, one other time in my life, and it's not my cup of tea. And orchestras are not my thing, and driving to Chicago on a Monday night, not my thing. Put them all together, and it was absolutely my thing. It was an amazing night. I had a great night. I got out of my comfort zone of what I say, this is what I do. And it was great. We went to a great old theater. We saw the Bean. My dad and brother, one brother had no idea what the Bean was. And so we drove by that and we're like, oh, there it is in Millennial Park. So I'm thankful that I allowed myself to do that, because when I was first approached with this opportunity, the immediate answer was no. It was like, well, no, it's a Monday night. It's this and that. No, life is about experiences. Life is about leaning in. And so I'm thankful and I'm grateful that my brother pushed the envelope and pushed the issue, and all four of us were able to go down and experience something. And the 2.5, 3 hour drive down there and the 2 hour drive back, that's where the good stuff happened. 5 hours of, four men sitting in a car, and a lot of great ideas came up and great conversations that normally don't happen organically. So I'm very grateful for that. The word of the day, not word of the day. I used to do a thing called the word of the week back in high school. So words and me, we get along. We've been getting along for a long time. The opportunity, the ask of this week, speaking. That's it. I'm very thankful. Also, last week I spoke down in Louisville, the Resource Recycling Conference. I did one 1 hour workshop on the language of leaders, and it led to another speaking opportunity I have in Orlando, paid gig down there. And so I'm starting to book up in the next year. I got another gig in April I booked last week. So booking gigs, the language of leadership. I'm also going to be shifting and changing the title of it in due time. The key, though, is how do we, as individuals, transform our language so that we can reap the life and the destiny we want. That's the punchline there. Go to andyweins.com to find out more. You can hit me up directly, talk about what I can do for your company, your chamber, your conference, who I can serve to help empower others through the power of language. All right, there we go. We got our thank you. We got our thank you, and we got our ask. Now let's get into the meat and the potatoes of the thing. Blame, excuse, denial. BED. It's below the line thinking. To our good friends who are there at Action Coach. So give them credit where credit is due. They have an OAR and then they have a BED. Today we're thinking about and we're focusing on below the line. So OAR is ownership. What is it? Ownership? No. Now I got to think about it. Ownership, something, and responsible. Taylor looked it up for us real quick. What is the A? I can't think of the A offhand. I know the BED. That's what we're focusing on. Blame, excuse, denial. You also know that this is how I operate every single week. I come in here, I shoot from the hip. I got my couple notes over there, and away we go. Blame, excuse, denial. Let's talk about this. My argument is simple. Everybody has a predisposition to blame, excuse, or denial. I know for me, for example, my go-to is actually, it's in that order. My go-to is blame. I love blaming other people. I will find the facts and the figures and the data to avoid responsibility and give it to others. My second, when there's nobody else to blame, it's excuses. So I hear this within me. I heard it this morning. This morning I was going to go do my push-ups. I'm like, oh, I had a late night. I didn't get to bed till almost 2 o'clock in the morning. It's early. I'm already checking my email. I got it out of order this morning. Normally I get up, it's coffee, push-ups, and then I check my phone. Well, this morning it's coffee, checking my phone, right? And I'm like, oh, I already been checking my phone, right? And yet I put a pre-programmed thing that says, I get coffee when I do my push-ups, right? So the pre-programming kicked in there this morning, because otherwise my excuse was da, 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 da. And the third piece is denial. Of the three, denial is by far the worst. And I'm very biased saying that, knowing that I do not suffer from that one. Denial is the worst because now you're not accepting facts and figures and reality. And those, I've worked with people like that. I've lived with people like that. That is the worst of the three. And blame and excuse, I would say denial is the worst, then blame and excuses is the least worst when they're all bad. So denial is the worst because now you're denying the reality of what's going on. You're coming up with your own story. You're looking for information. Like you make a decision and you find the information that supports the decision versus the information that's right in front of you. Blame is, okay, I have some ownership here, but let me focus all my energy and attention on other people and how they are responsible parties, right? And then excuse is internally, I'm going to let that wolf of weakness, that wolf of hatred and scarcity rear up its ugly head when I'm in that spot. With that, another acronym we've talked about here on this show, HALT, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When you are 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these 4 things, you have a predisposition to then fall into one of these things, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. All right, real quick. Ownership, accountability, responsibility. Taylor mailed it in. He clicked over and told me what I was looking for. Thank you, Taylor. Taylor's the man behind the magic here on the show, Andy Weins Live. See, I started, and instead of punting or making it up, or actually instead of making things up, I punted, and I got good people, smart people that are in front of the Google that got me smart there. All right, so we got 3 acronyms we're working on. OAR, accountability, ownership, accountability, responsibility. BED, blame, excuse, denial. And then HALT, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I learned all about HALT during suicide awareness class with the military. 20 years, I don't know, 50, 100, however many briefs I've been on suicidal and homicidal ideations, PTSD, resiliency in the military. The one I remember the most was when he talked about hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So let's look at me this morning. This morning I got up. I was clearly tired. I got up because it was already my excuse, right? I'm tired. I went to bed late, right? I was a little hungry because I fast typically 16 hours, and obviously I woke up. I hadn't eaten yet. Angry, not really. I was fine. And lonely, no, I'm good with my life, right? So I'm 2 out of 4, for sure 1, right? And I use the excuse of being tired as my reason, right? It's a reason. It's a reason, right? And what comes down to is being aware of that, right? Awareness is the second step. Reflection is the first step. Awareness is the second step. Third step is regulation. What information did I go into today with? What information did I put in my brain prior to today so that when I am hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and I have a predisposition to want to use blame, excuse, or denial, what information will combat that? Right? That desire, that want has to be greater than the want to lean into your bullshit, right? So my want, I want to be proud of myself. I want to have a habit. I want to be able to come on, or we'll come on here. I also want to be able to tell myself every morning, I did the thing. I said I was going to do it, and I did it. Last week I was traveling. I went to Louisville. Last week I forgot my floss. As you guys know, if you've watched this show, flossing was my habit. Last quarter, right? Every quarter I've taken on a physical habit. Right? When my physical body is right, I know my mental body will follow. So I've done everything from fasting, and I've incorporated, I've lived with it. No alcohol, lived it, incorporated. Like these are all the things. Like they're now habitual, right? Last quarter was flossing. This quarter is my push-ups, right? Like I want to win. I'm competitive, right? So I have this preloaded information that no, I do push-ups, right? And then I get coffee, or I get coffee when I do my push-ups, right? Put the reward before the work. That's fine, right? Reward before work. The only time that ever happens is in the dictionary, ladies and gentlemen, right? You got to do the work first. So because I did the work, I put the predisposition in my head. I said, no, I get coffee when I do my push-ups. When I started to get off track, because I was tired, and I started, that the excuses started boiling up, I had to remember who the fuck I was. I am, therefore. I am is the most powerful way to start a sentence. I am a man that believes in physical health. I'm a man that knows when I'm physically right, I'll be mentally right. I'm a man that has good habits. I'm a man that does only what I want. And I want to do all these things to make myself a better person. I'm a 40-year-old man that knows that my life and my health are only going to deteriorate over time. So I need to do things so that today can be as good as yesterday, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And when those desires come up, when I stand up for myself, the blame, the excuse, denial go away. I know with me, for example, blame. I love blaming other people. Let me tell you how you fucked up. Let me tell you where your hands are involved in this. Let me tell you how righteous I am. And about 2 years ago, I was going through a breakup, and Mervyn Bird, my coach, he sat there. We had a 90-minute coaching session, business coaching, and I spent the first 45 minutes of it talking about my relationship and how bad the other person was. And they did this, and then they did that, and I felt this way, and they made me da 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 da. And I was a victim of my own circumstance. And he let me wear myself out like a child throwing a tantrum. And at the end, he goes, all right, where are your fingerprints? Where's your DNA in all this? What contributing factors did you bring to the relationship that caused these situations? Look no further than a mirror, Andy. I wanted to project out this, that, and the other, and all the other people that fucked me along the way. And yet the answer was right there in the mirror. The answer was, Andy, when did you not stand up for yourself? Andy, when did you choose to bite your tongue? Andy, when did you let people treat you a certain way without speaking up for yourself? When did you wither away? When did you slowly die? Right? Because that was my challenge. I wanted so much to be in that relationship. I allowed myself to get lost along the way because I valued the relationship more than I valued myself. And it was easy to blame the other person because I gave of myself to them. And all along the way, I blamed that person. And I wanted to win. I wanted to win every argument there was. And recently I realized this, and when I was doing a workshop with a gentleman, he was talking about his wife, and he was talking about winning an argument. And I said, cool. And then I asked around the room, who here wants to date a loser? Who here wants to employ losers? Who here wants to work for a company of losers? Nobody. And yet, for me and for others, when blame is your key, you want to win the argument. And when you win an argument, guess what? The other person loses. And now you're dating a loser. You're working for a loser. You hire a bunch of losers. Because instead of you being a winner, instead of me being a winner, instead of me taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility for how I showed up, I'd rather blame others. And in a situation like this, it's very simple. Be future focused for me. When I want to blame people in the past, instead I say, okay, hold on. What do I want, right? Because I only do what I want these days. I learned that when I read 10x is easier than 2x. It's no longer, this is what I need to do, and here's why I need to do it. I used to always say, I do what I want. That was my adage at life. I do what I want. And it was me projecting to the world how I'm going to show up as Andy. And now recently I say, I only do what I want, because that word only is significant. Now I own what Dr. Bill Crawford said, which was there's only 3 things you have to do in life. You have to be born, you have to die, and you have to live in between. Everything else is a choice. Now I can say here that I only do what I want. I make my choices along the way. And when I say that, blame of others, excuses for my own bullshit, denial of the facts do not live in my world. So now when I reflect back and say, did I show up the right way in a certain situation? Did I live that righteous life of ownership, accountability, and responsibility? Or did I live that life of blame, excuse, denial? I pre-programmed. I spent a year or so living in blame, excuse, denial when it came to push-ups, doing my morning routine, doing the things in the morning that I know will set me up for success the rest of the day. All the blame, excuse, and denial in the world. Always excuses. First thing in the morning, it's excuse, excuse, excuse. Hell, even today, the way that my schedule lined up, this afternoon I'm heading to Chicago for an opportunity, for a dinner opportunity. So doing this show this afternoon did not fit on my calendar. So I could have just been, well, here's my excuse, right? Blame the schedule, right? Deny that people want to hear what I have to say. Give the excuse that I got things going on, or take ownership, accountability, responsibility. I got another podcast right after this. Change the guest, make sure the producer's available. Make sure that my rest of my calendar is set up. Why? Because this is what I do. I come on here every week. I'm habitual about this. Coming on this show, 10 minutes before this show, we didn't have a topic. I sat in a little room over there. Taylor said, hey, why don't you talk about excuses? You've brought it up before and people need to hear that. I said, yeah, let's lean into that. Right? So I got rid of all the bullshit excuses. I came on here, I put up the mic, I drank my coffee. I am putting myself out there because I am a man that believes in teaching, preaching, leading others. I talked about that last week. And now my I am statement trumps all the other bullshit. I am, I can. I know, I want, I will. In that order. When you do that, the blame, excuse, denials go away. Every once in a while, I need to look myself down. I need to. I want to. I desire to look myself in the mirror and remind myself who the fuck I am. I'm Andy fucking Weins. I'm proud of who I am. I'm a person that believes in physical health. I believe in mental health, spirituality, emotional commitment. I believe in these things. And when I say that out loud, when I say that to myself, when I see myself say that in the mirror, and there's psychology behind why people that work out look in the mirror when they do it, because it releases more endorphins and dopamine because you actually matter. You see yourself mattering. It matters when you tell yourself these things in the mirror. It matters to me when I give myself my affirmations in the morning in the mirror. It reminds me who I am and why I am here and that I matter. And when I show up and that I matter, I'm going to show up as the person that I want to become, not the person I am today. Because the person I am today is flawed. The person that I am today is full of excuses and blame and denial and bullshit. And the person I want to become is righteous. The person I want to become is courageous. The person I want to become is the one that stands out. Wherever 99% of people go that way, I go over here to see what the hell else is out there. That's the person I want to become. And so every time I tell myself this, every time I look in the mirror, I remind myself of who I am today. I got to be aware. And where I'm going in this world, what I want out of this world. And when you do that, the blame, excuse, denial goes away. This week and every week, the plan is always the same. Do the thing. Tell the fucking world. And show the fuck up. And when you do those three things, the blame, excuse, denial go away. Do the thing. Do the thing that is bothering you. Do the thing that you are providing excuses and blame for. Do the thing that you know is best for you. Do it first. Do it. Make it habitual. Tie it to other goals. Do it daily. 21 days, it's a habit. 21 days, it's part of your life. I talk about how I fast 16 hours a day. 2 years ago, I never fasted before. Now, I fast 16 hours a day, at least 5 days a week, without fail, to a point where I don't talk about it. Yesterday, someone asked me about alcohol. I said, I haven't had a drink in almost 2 years. I never talk about it because it's part of who I am. It's already hardwired into, it's softwired, right? Hardwired is alcohol is good. Alcohol is fun. I had to build it in, right? My software overriding my hardware that says, no, I abstain from alcohol. I show up to parties late. I leave early. When I have the urge to drink, I remove myself from a situation. I find out how to become the man I want to be without the aid of drugs, alcohol, or acceptance of others. I do that because I pre-program my mind to do that. And the blame, excuse, denial, I don't feed that wolf. The wolf is in me. I love on that wolf. I let that wolf know, yeah, you're heard. I gotcha, right? Let me love on you and tell you, nah. Take ownership when I want to blame others. Take accountability when I want to provide excuses. Take responsibility for the facts when I'm in denial about what's going on in the world around me. And I am no different than you. You are capable of the same. I said this 2 weeks ago when I talked about being in a hole. You are capable of all the things that I do and that I preach. So I challenge you this week and always. Do the fucking thing that bothers you the most. Tell the fucking world about the victories. Release that dopamine once again. And finally, show the fuck up with who you are. Be one of one. There are 8 billion yous in this world. Be the you that only you can be. Dr. Drew said something about those lines. Be that person. And you'll never talk about blame, excuse, and denial again. I'll see you next week.
Well, through all these miles and trials, all I've learned to do is smile. Is to smile.